a bunch of other people in Natick and in other places nearby, and a few places far flung. Um, you may be listening later, um, and you can do that at any time. And we have a list of earlier meetings you can pick up other clues on. We are talking about FOSS, free open source software, and that's right, it's free. You can get it and use it and share it and even improve it because it's also open source. The programmers can do that for you. You don't have to be a programmer, and everybody can join in. Um, I'm giving a very short intro today. We have one you can click on in the agenda. And basically, I just want to tell you that a lot of other people also are using Force. Jill, I'm picking up an echo. Can, can, can you switch off so you want to go on from here?
No, I switched it
Okay,
off
fine.
here.
Good, thanks. Um, the question of whether FOSS is any good, the answer is some of it isn't, but a lot of it is. And the main flavor of operating system that it's used with is also free open source software, and that is Linux. So we'll be using Linux today. We'll be talking some about it. But for those of you who aren't there yet, there's a lot of FOSS that can be used on Windows or on Mac until you get to Linux. Linux, by the way, is used on something like 95% now of the internet traffic between the servers that are handling it and the web pages that are running with it and a few other services involved. Uh, it's very well established. Also, it's established by the military. It's running the U.S. International Space Station, and a bunch of U.S. ones. And I'm now going to start the main program. With it, I'll have a little more to say on related matters in the news. Uh, People are welcome to say they want to say something. The regulars uh, can butt in until it's making too much noise, at which point we'll have to silence a few microphones. Uh, but you can also raise your hand in this program. Look down at the bottom and you'll see how you can do that. And we'll get around to everybody by the end of the show. And we have a bunch of other presenters today also. Good. So let's go. I am going to switch to a different window. And this different window should be holding, yes. Oh, you didn't get to it yet. I didn't get to it yet either, so just a minute. Okay, first of all, I've now gotten to it. That's a step along the way. Now I guess I have to share my screen. Back to the, sorry folks. Once again, I thought this was set up. Back to hither and see if I can't share a screen. Entire screen and allow.
No, you
Oh,
need to go to your other
window.
window.
We are getting there, folks. Finally, um, we have a whopping big draft agenda today. I predict a bunch of it won't get to be done today, but we'll pick some real good ones, including all the presenters, other than me, should get time. First thing I want to mention is the date is in green, not in the usual. And I won't tell you why yet, but I'll tell you later. Um, Remember that. Um, the introductory slide talk is available for those who want it. By clicking this box, you will have this entire agenda afterward just by going to the agenda page. And by the end of tonight, we'll have everything up online where you can click on all these links. Uh, the FOSS news is that the European Union has had an open policy summit meeting, and they support FOSS very heavily. You might want to read more about it here. Also, France and a German sub-state, like the states in the U.S., have officially made their transition to where it's going to be their official language. So, uh, FOSS,
Language?
pardon?
Language?
The FOSS set of full software, free, open source, they think it's a good idea for doing their government business and for getting it to the people they serve. So we think so too. That's nice news from earlier this year. The United Nations pretty much did the same thing in 2019. That one fits under history, but they're all the same topic. They're telling you FOSS is trustworthy if you go to a trustworthy place to find out where to get it. We'll have a lot of information about that every month, including this one. So I just wanted to cover that much as part of the intro. You can read the details of each one tomorrow or late tonight. Let's see, what else have we got? Algot, you are on. Would you like to introduce the application guides?
I'd be just happy to do that.
Thanks. Here's
Uh,
Algot Runeman.
Thanks, Dick. Uh, the use of the computer for almost everybody includes doing writing along with a lot of other office style activities. And when we talk about that, in the FOSS area, the most popular is known as LibreOffice. And there's a nice link to all the new documentation that has been written as books that you can download in PDF format. Of course, you can probably also buy them, but online documentation tends to be the way people work today. And the nice fact is that LibreOffice documentation is not an expensive option if you download the PDFs. So I'm going to capture that link and then I'm going to paste it into the chat so that you can see it.
And we'll have it right here as well.
Yep. There isn't an awful lot to say about the documentation per se. It's well written. It's worth checking out if you use the documentation, if you use LibreOffice in your work. And I recommend highly taking a good, strong look at it. And that's all I needed to say on that.
I'll just say a little more. If you've used Microsoft Office, this is the free version. And Microsoft Office is now Office 365. They've got a new way to get you to pay for it every year. Uh, so you might be even more interested. LibreOffice works very well. Thank you, Algot. And I'll also add these guidebooks are on the scale of 400 pages or so. They are detailed and they have a table of contents and an index, and you can just click and get to what you want. They're full fledged books running fast online or on your computer. I think you're going to like them. Thanks. Let's see. Um, I'm going to say very little about this next one, um, except that we've got a lot of giveaways. It seems to be the season for that between Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa, whatnot. Um, there's things to be given and taken, and holiday greetings can be created 4 different ways in FOSS from the one single article that I will be sending you. I think you might enjoy finding out how setting up to do it one way or another, or telling friends how to do that. So, enough for that. It's how to send your greetings and using FOSS tools. FOSS alternatives to. This is a long string that runs from FOSS over to the end here with a semicolon. And it has a bunch of things in it. I'll do them by stages. The first thing I want to tell you about, it's not the first time I've mentioned it, but it's a good time to do so. Alternatives to Microsoft To Do. And then here's one of them mentioned. And no, I'm so, hang on. I'm sorry, it ended here. Uh, so that's it. But how do you find alternatives to a Microsoft program or anything else? Why? You click on alternatives to. That's what you do. I just clicked, and real soon now, I expect. Does that show yet on your screen? Good. Okay, it's taking a couple of seconds to show across on Jitsi, not a problem. And this is alternative to .net. No hyphen or space, just alternative to .net. It's good to know. It's got several apps, a lot of comments on the apps, and a lot of clues as to which one you want to lean on. This is one way to decide what's the great FOSS and what is not. But if we want to look at the one I was talking about, it was called Microsoft Go To. Go To.
No, Microsoft To Do.
To do. No wonder it's not working. Thank you, Jill.
I wasn't the only
I
one.
was going to. And here's GNOME To Do. Somebody's done a takeoff on it, I think. I figured one would start. Yep. Microsoft To Do is the top of the list. Do we have any choices? 151 in this one list. This is a powerful program to know about. Now, here it is. It's describing it. If we go down, we'll read more about it. But I don't want to do that. I want to find alternatives to it. But wait, I don't want to find all the alternatives. I only want to find the alternatives that run on Linux. For my argument, you might want something different. Now we've got those. But wait, I only want the ones that are open source software. They're also going to be free. And now it wasn't as roomy it isn't as roomy as before, but we still have a lot of
Down to
items.
15.
We're down to 15 showing. We might have more we can show, but not 151. But here's a bunch of things like it, any one of which will work. You can read which one people like better or worse, and a lot of information on each one. There are 15 total. We're seeing 10 at a time. So you can see more. You can click on any one, learn about it, download it for free because we asked for the open source ones and they're going to be free. That's how easy it is to use it, and it'll lead you to alternatives to this one program. And that was why we're looking at it. Let's see if I can get back to where I came from. Yes, and about 2 seconds maybe. And let's see. The next item is another giveaway. That was a giveaway for giveaways. It told you how to get to everything, pretty much, providing someone has put it on that list. You can do that too, and you can make comments. Um, Odoo is interesting. We've had a different name, but the last few years it's been Odoo, and it is a business applications program. You could set up a company online talking to itself and to others and advertising and handling salaries and everything in between. This is a giant application. No, I don't think many of you beginners are going to click on this and learn how to use it. But my point is there's plenty of these also. If you click on this link for business application, you'll find a lot more of them. But this is one recommended one with a good article on how to install it In Ubuntu, which is our favorite flavor of index at Miller Microcomputer Services, not all the active people in our user group think it's their favorite, and you have choices. So you'll be hearing about others, but from me, you'll be hearing mostly about Ubuntu examples. It carries across into other versions of Linux. There's a lot of flavors. Um, so that will take care of that one. I'm not trying to get you to learn how to use it today, just to know the scope of what's available. Next, Jerry has promised a demonstration, which for the beginners won't be helpful yet. But as you get to testing the distros, deciding which one you want, distros or distributions of Linux, like Ubuntu and like many others, Red Hat is a famous big one. Fedora is their small one. Uh, in any case, let me put on Jerry Feldman, who's going to teach some of us how to do a test on all those distros, see which ones are running fine today.
Did you skip?
Jerry, welcome.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Did you skip those? Did you skip those other ones on purpose? Wait, Droid.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you have to,
Go back.
yeah, unshare.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, what I have here is this is the opening window you get with the virtual machine manager called Virt-Manager. It's available on most distributions. It
How do I?
uses QEMU KVM and it uses libvirt as the underlying library.
Alt tab.
I 2 or 3 years ago, I demoed
Go to the other screen.
boxes or GNOME boxes, which is another virtual machine manager, but it also
Go to the
uses
other screen.
the same virtual. We can hear you, Jill.
I'm sorry.
We're trying hard to get you on screen.
I'm not seeing anything from Jerry.
Yeah, I know.
Just a
We're.
black
I
screen.
know. That's why we're panicking here.
Okay, let me stop. Okay, let me stop sharing. Go back
My.
to,
We could see your cursor moving.
yeah, okay. Let's see if we can fix that. A couple of things I want to do here. Through settings.
We're back to seeing Dick's screen now.
Okay, that's fine.
Turn off
Uh,
your microphone.
Yeah, I did test
I'm,
this.
I'm very puzzled because am not getting my screen sharing control back
Go
now.
go back
Okay.
to your other
Yeah, maybe you should
desktop.
stop sharing your screen, Dick.
Now
I'm
Alt
trying to
tab.
get to the
Alt
control.
tab. There's nothing else open here?
That's correct. So I'll go back to where I was, which is where I thought it would be. Maybe that will work. Ha! But it's not showing it anyway.
Go to your Jitsi screen.
Yeah, we can't find it.
You won't believe this. Well, let me go hunt for it here.
There it is. Switch to tab, NatickFOSS Jitsi Neat. No, 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 down. There we go.
It thinks I'm there, but I don't seem to have
No, no,
any.
no, down one. There you go. Nope. Put your cursor down one. Click.
Ah, okay. Aha. Thank you. It didn't have the whole name. It did before. Um,
Okay, you stop sharing? Okay. Now let me share and see. Can you see me now?
Nope. Black.
You just switched it to black. Let me try mine again.
Black with cursor. We've got Jerry's
Okay.
cursor.
Okay. Okay, you should see me back here.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to try something here. Now I see. And this is the same thing that happened, I think, with Dick early on.
Or maybe it's something different.
Okay, because what I wanted to do was share the virtual machines.
In the Jitsi extra features, I propose to click a time or two on disable everyone's camera. Well, no, we know
Okay.
your camera's working. That's not the
Mhm.
problem. Hmm.
Were you
I
trying to
said,
share an application or share
yes,
your screen?
no, share the whole screen. Um,
Do you have two screens?
what do you mean two screens?
Or I'm just if you have a virtual screen defined for the virtualization, that may be confusing it. Maybe try sharing an app.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that. Okay, we'll go back to share. Wants to share a window. And
Well,
all right,
now we're seeing your Chrome window.
yeah, yeah, I know. One more trick, let me try. Okay, I
Jerry?
moved the virtual into this workspace, and let me see if it
Ah, good.
works. Can you see the virtual machine?
No.
A black screen. Jerry, can you
Yeah.
debug this at your end, or do you need us on to debug it?
I don't know. I'll have to test it. Why don't we
Why don't
move
we
this to next
do
time?
something else for now and
Yep.
tell us when you have an answer one way or the other?
Yep.
Okay. Uh, Next presentation, I will see if I can't find one. I have to share my screen. Well, I think I'm share. Allow. I have to. Okay, I see the problem. This time I'll remember it. And now,
Told you you can't do it.
Okay, I'll have to do it every time. That's the way they're going to be. Okay, I think I'm about to get back to where we can do business with my screen. Yes. Okay. Um, in that case, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Um, I want to talk about Waydroid just enough to give people the idea. Maybe someone will demonstrate this next month. Waydroid can be loaded onto Linux, and now you can run your Android apps from your smartphone or maybe from something special elsewhere on Linux. So I'd be interested in seeing that. I'm only mentioning it to open the conversation. So those of you who want to bite, go ahead. Um, Also, we are currently running uh, Ubuntu Linux 21.10. They all have strange names. This one is Impish Indri. An Indri is an animal and it always gets an adjective ahead of it. And they start with the same letter, and the letters are counting up through the letters, just like our coronavirus variants are, except these are English letters. So, um, what I want to mention here isn't that it's been out since 2021 10, which is to say October, and a lot of us know about it and use it. But what I do want to mention is a 5-minute video of it that's quite good and an online demo. This is new. There used to be an online demo that was obsolete. They didn't update it every release. But now the current release will have an online demo if you want to try Ubuntu Linux and you're not in Linux, let alone Ubuntu. You don't have to put it on your computer. You can just go to this demo. You will have the link, and that's a good new addition. I'll ask some of the other users online. Uh, do they have the same demo available for, say, Fedora or any anybody that likes a different flavor?
Dick, are we supposed to be seeing the agenda or something?
You are.
We're not. I'm not seeing it.
Others?
Same.
Oh, where are you seeing it?
I'm seeing it. So
Jill,
And
Jill
I
is
think,
looking at me through Jitsi, and she is seeing.
and
Is
Algot put his thumb up.
and I'm seeing it.
okay. Some are, some aren't. Um,
Interesting.
I am going for a minute to talk about the multiple workspaces that many Linux systems offer. I can get to mine two ways, and you should be seeing it now. If you're seeing it, you see four windows, and only the upper right one is the one that was my full window a moment ago. I can go right back to it, or I could go to a different window if I prefer. And whichever one I go to is live. I'm mentioning this now not because it's a lovely tool, but because maybe some of you have done this and you're in the wrong work area. Just a thought, might not be the right one, but now you should be seeing the full agenda. Full,
Jerry Feldman would like to speak.
Jerry, what would you like?
Okay, I think I've solved the problem.
Good. Uh, Let me finish where I was.
Let me know.
I actually, and then we'll be back to you very shortly.
Okay.
So I've already mentioned the ability. Oh, by the way, are people now seeing the agenda who were not?
No.
Ugh. What is different for half the group?
It says participant has stopped the camera but shows me a screen share icon.
Hmm. I'll go back to the area where I can screen share and see what's going on. Did I just solve the problem?
Not for me.
Hmm.
I'm showing you a screen shared.
So people are still seeing it. Jill and I are only talking to each other through Jitsi, but we can see each other's screen. So I can see that it certainly is working for some. Ah,
I'm using Firefox.
I'm
so am
using
I.
Chrome.
Is
Is
anybody
it?
else who's using Chrome able to see it?
Other Chromium users also not seeing.
I'm using Chrome.
And
Firefox. Is there anyone using Firefox that cannot see us?
I'm using Firefox and I see it.
Good. I suggest you switch to Firefox until we know what's going on. We are not running Chrome here or Chromium or any of the above. Uh, so perhaps that will be helpful. It was running before, so we have a puzzle. Give it a try. Meanwhile, back to my
All
agenda.
right.
And did that help?
I can't even fire up Firefox.
Well, while people are trying. Um, so uh, you can now try the current version of Ubuntu Linux online, and even more unnerving for people who weren't used to it before, you can now preview the alpha version of Ubuntu 22.04, the next release, and it won't be coming until this coming April, but you can preview it now. I don't think you can do that online, but there's a couple of places showing you them running it, and you can get in there and start reading all about it for those who are interested. Jerry, I can put you on now if you would like.
Okay.
Here we go.
Just a couple of seconds for me to do a setup.
you didn't unshare yet.
Oh, and I'll share you so you can do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't do that either.
Okay, where's it hiding? We just did this show. That's it. Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What you're seeing right now, I mentioned a few minutes ago that a couple of years ago, I did GNOME Boxes. GNOME Boxes uses the same engine. It's just a different virtual manager and has a lot fewer options. And what I want to show you here is right now I have Fedora 35 LXQT. I have OpenMandriva, and you can read the rest. So I was doing some testing on a couple of these for a couple of different people, and I wanted to test them myself. I've been using virtual machines since about 1973. So
We.
I go back earlier than it's on mainframes. So, but Virtual
Would sort
Manager
of
is a
have
full
to be at
manager.
that age.
Yeah, I've got to switch on to it. So if we go through the file menu, here I can add a new virtual machine.
Interesting. Your drop down menu doesn't show.
Yeah, they don't. So what this does, it's basically a dialog box. It's going to ask you for an ISO image. And what I'll do is when I bring up a virtual machine, I'll go ahead and do it. So what you do is you load the ISOs in here, and it basically loads them up. But you have a lot of options also. And if I click in the right place, it's not going to go. But what we have here is you can load them up. You can actually share a common disk. You can have a common disk drive or common directory that you share with your host computer if you want to do that. I've done that many times with VirtualBox. So I'm going to give a quick demo here. I'm going to bring up my Fedora 35 LXQT. I may have to switch sharing on that. Okay, now I'm going to share that screen. Now what you're seeing here is a window that is,
Good.
the guest isn't running. And I have some options here. If I click on one of these different options, I can select the CPUs, the amount of memory, boot options, and stuff like that. I have to do it before I actually log in. If I click on this next button here, it's to power the virtual machine on. This will pause the window. This will shut down the virtual machine. And you can do snapshots. Well, let's go ahead and start the virtual machine up here. And you can see the virtual machine starting up. And for some reason, it's not booting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just force it off. Let's try again. There we go. Now, the beauty of running virtual machines is that you can have a failure that doesn't affect your computer. Your computer is running, and you can have many virtual machines running at the same time. I'm going to kill this also. I'm going to go to another virtual machine. So I'll just go through the same procedure here. And let's go to Open Mandriva. Or let's see. Or let's do Ubuntu 2110. I'll have to share that window again. Okay, can you see the guest is not running screen?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and start that one up. Now it does Virtual machines actually run from their own container. So anything you do in a virtual machine cannot affect your host computer unless you tell it to specifically. Here it comes. It's booting, same boot sequence. It has its own disk, and that disk is in your virtual machine, so what you do to that disk can't affect your host computer. Now, in virtual machine terminology, host computer is the computer that the virtual machine is running on, and guest is the name of the computer running in a virtual machine. And it runs pretty much like it does. It gets its own network. It gets its own, as I said, gets its own disk, and it gets its other peripherals. But these peripherals are virtual. So if your network is wireless, if you look at settings, it takes a while.
Is it slower than running a native one?
Yes. Virtual machine is always going to be a little bit slower than running a native. I don't know why this is running slower. What it does for networking, it gives you a NAT connection so you can get to the internet. Here we go. And it's running.
Jerry, what RAM and storage does your computer have?
I've got, I believe I've got 16 gigabyte. I've got 16 gigs. I've got four CPUs. That should have come up a little bit faster. But,
Yeah, I was wondering. It's a lot slower than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Not that that's a problem for this purpose.
No, I might have some other stuff running. And this is Ubuntu 2110. And what I do with this one is when a new version of Ubuntu comes out, I'll immediately upgrade to it, and then I'll rename the virtual machine so I know what it's running. But it runs just like Ubuntu. And again,
and it can read your storage for all your data and whatnot. Lovely.
It can't get outside of the virtual machine.
Oh.
It cannot read anything you have on the host outside of the virtual machine. It can't get to. That's the beauty of running it as a virtual machine. So everything in the virtual machine cannot affect your host computer. Your host computer otherwise cannot affect your virtual machine except through the virtual machine manager. But one thing that you can do is you can set up, let's say, share, so that you can share a disk. You can even share your home drive, although that doesn't work very well for certain reasons. But it's a beautiful way of bringing up these other distributions that you question how they work. And you can do them all at the same time your system is logged on. And it's much more extensive than, let's say, GNOME boxes. But GNOME boxes is just a smaller version of a similar thing that does it, but it's doesn't have any of the options, and I showed you the options a while back.
So Jerry, where we have our data in a separate partition on the hard drive, the machine that we're running in the virtual area should be able to get to the extra partition that we call user data?
Yes, you can. That's an option that you have to set up.
Under share, correct?
Under share. and
Good.
you have to get your permissions right. And if you're running anything like SE Linux can get in your way.
Hmm.
So it can get a little complicated, but I've done that many times before when I used to use VirtualBox. So I always had a virtual share. And all of your virtual machines can share the same share, or they can have their own shares.
Well, very nice. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Okay,
Thank you
let me
very much.
let me go and shut this down.
Let's,
We'll do a standard shutdown this time.
sorry. I guess I want to go back to,
And I stopped sharing.
and I'm back. Thank you. I hope everyone can now see the draft agenda again.
Yep.
All good.
Yep.
Good. Another vote for Firefox, I guess.
Nope.
Um,
Chrome.
I'm on Chrome and it's fine.
what fixed it?
I playing with Firefox, but failing.
Okay. Uh, and
Bob,
sort
it
of
was you.
sort of tagging on to the using Virt Manager to test Linux distros, I added on an interesting one, a how-to on something not quite like that, but related a little bit, and I thought it might be of interest on the same month, and that is Ubuntu's rescue mode or emergency mode, depending on which particular detailed flavor of Ubuntu you're using. Uh, so you can read the article, you can try it out if you're running Ubuntu, and it's useful. Um, let me see. Let me take a good skip somewhere about now. Um, Dennis, are you ready to do one of yours? I think
Sure.
Anagrammar, Anagrammarama might be a good one for opening.
Okay.
And uh,
Uh,
I don't have to do anything now. Right?
you see my screen or
Yes.
Excellent.
No, I can't.
Oh, not
Yet.
your screen. Yes, your face.
you're seeing my face?
I,
I'm
I
not seeing
see
anything.
Which seems to be frozen.
I see
Yeah.
DP.
There. Mozilla Crash Reporter.
Okay.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're getting the infinite regress now.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
me.
back. I stopped sharing, so it's back to Dick's screen. Hold on, I'm gonna jump on to Firefox because I was playing around with that in another window and that was working. So I guess I'll be back after I switch to that.
Should we do something else or just wait?
Can't. He's restarting himself.
So, do you think he meant wait?
Hmm.
I can't get permissions.
Are you still sharing your screen, Dick? Because I see this up here.
Do you want me to click it again?
Yeah,
What?
yeah, I think so.
Can anyone hear me at all?
Yes,
Yes.
now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. But you can't see anything still.
Now we see Jerry.
Let me
We
just check something here. I'm not sharing anything, but I'm going to check.
we're
Okay, Dennis,
seeing
we see.
something now, Dennis.
The screen was shared.
Yeah, for just a moment, there it is again.
Here we go.
Well, I
We're getting a
Dennis,
background and a cow say.
Yeah.
Okay.
you see Dennis live now.
All right.
Blue stuff.
I will point out to newcomers that any Linux worth its salt has a terminal window at your fingertips. You can work in your favorite computer language if you're a programmer.
Anagrammarama is not responding.
That's weird. I had just used it just a little while ago.
There
There we go. All right. So this is Anagrammarama. It's a program I stumbled across, and it has a big dictionary behind it, and it goes over and gives you these seven letters at random, and you have to find as many words as you can out of them. So
Not quite currency.
I'm not sure about this one. How about we go to a new one? So you just type in one of the words, hit enter, and it fills it in down at the answers list down here.
All you have to do is fill in the rest of them.
Yep. And there's a time limit that's counting down as you do it. The dictionary behind the scenes for this is a British English dictionary. So you can't do color without a U.
Ooh.
I did find someone had a American English dictionary, but all he did was add all of the American words that he could think of, but didn't remove like color with a U.
Okay.
So
Take care of that, Dennis.
if you want, you can go with that, but I haven't bothered adding it in yet because I don't think that's useful enough. There is a solve button that you can go over and do for it to just tell you what all the words are.
Does British include
If you
Fido?
Fido, I don't know. Nope, doesn't like Fido.
Ah, strange language.
How about toe?
Toe, I'm sure toe is there, and you could probably do toes.
And sift. And soft. But probably not
Yep.
theft.
And depending on what letters you get, the number of answers will change. So this one has a lot of answers, whereas the previous one didn't have very many at all.
So you can tell how many words there by the blocks at the bottom.
Yes, and the blocks at the bottom are also alphabetized. So you might be able to say, like, if you had the word up here and it was something that began with, say, F, then you know that there's either an F or an S for this word.
Uh-huh.
So then you might say, oh, it must be set.
Or FID.
FID.
Nope, doesn't like FID.
It doesn't.
Doesn't.
Oh my gosh. That's
I
as
was using one just last night. Did you get
The,
soft?
I'm sure soft is in there.
Side.
British dictionary should have FID. Interesting.
Yes.
Well, it also, I don't know where the original creator got their dictionary from. So maybe wherever they got it from wasn't a very good dictionary. I don't know.
Deft. DEFT.
Yep.
And tide and tides.
What were those ones?
Tide. Time and tide wait for no man. And then the plural of it.
Ah, yes.
Boy, it's spelled really funny up top now that I look.
Yeah, and it also allows you to shuffle it. So if you don't see anything, you might try shuffling it to see if something
How did you do
triggers
that?
this little
Oh, I see.
shuffle here.
Yeah, I see it now. This is very nice. Needs a better dictionary.
You want more words to find?
I couldn't believe that FID wasn't in it if it was British.
Deft. DEFT. No, F.
Nope.
Deft.
F. Oh, it ended.
Ran out of
A
time.
timer.
Yep.
Whoa, we got them all.
Wasted.
Now, this is when you go over and you look at it and you say, why didn't I get that?
Yep.
You know, like we did dot, but we didn't do dots.
hmm And past tenses with toe and toad.
Yep.
Code.
COED. Toed the line.
Oh, right.
I think that's an idiom.
Very nice. I've been playing with this and I've been enjoying it a lot. Thank you, Dennis. Any any more on it? Why don't you do the quickie one in
The,
the
the cow say one?
yes. We don't normally do programming level stuff, and this is almost programming level because it's in the terminal window, but it's not quite programming. Anybody can play.
I will say I had not heard of this program or not played with this program until Dick asked me to present about it.
I think it
Uh,
was pretty famous at MIT a million years ago,
yeah, I'm pretty
like
sure.
maybe 1980.
I'm pretty sure I've had friends that have used it before, but I just personally haven't played with it. And so the program is cow say, and it takes an argument. And so you just type in whatever you want. You include whatever argument you want in double quotes so that it all gets grouped together. And it proceeds to make a little ASCII cow that tells you whatever word you typed in.
Folks, this is what graphics was not that long ago.
But
In Moses' time.
people want more than just this one ASCII cow. I mean, what if you want to be able to go over and have, let's say, I think we can have Tux go over and say hello.
That's more new.
But what if you wander over and want to have a dragon breathing fire on a cow?
Cow doesn't like it.
Or maybe you need Couth Vader. So the when it's installed on Fedora, it goes over and includes a whole bunch of different ones in here. So this is where you can find Vader, Tux, and all of those. So then you can go over and create your own cow file. I haven't looked at them, so I have no idea how difficult they are to create. But you can go over and create your own if you have something you decide you want to have for a creation.
So all these dot cow are the actual graphics.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the files themselves, so we can look at one now to see how they're formatted. So it looks like you need to figure out a little bit of the syntax in order to figure out how to make it work, but
I think you'll find plenty of data on it online. It's been there
yes.
longer than anything else, in the way of graphics, anyway.
And apparently a lot of people have made different creations for it. So, I mean, these are only the ones that are included by default under Fedora. I don't know if there's even more that you can easily find.
I want to say, if you want to take your kids or your grandchildren or your neighbor kid back 50 years on the computer, it's right at your fingertips now. Hey, this is it. And
They,
people thought this was so hotshot. So, come
there
on.
are still people making ASCII art to this day, and they've got programs that'll go over and take a graphic files and convert them into ASCII art. It,
Oh, next month, Dennis, that would be
there
fun.
was there's even people who have made games, new games that are all ASCII art still.
Wow.
I want to mention in Ubuntu, you just hold down the Control and Alt buttons and type T for terminal window, and you'll have a terminal window. You can change the size and shape uh, to be full screen or whatever part you want. So now everybody can play. Thank you. Comments? Go ahead. We have a couple of comments. Will one of the commenters please speak up? You can chat, Joe.
This is the chat here.
Oh, okay. Who's asking?
I don't know. Arnold said fast soft, and Al got some duck.
Maybe we don't have any questions. Um, okay, thank you very much, Dennis. And let me go see what I've got and why I've got it. Um,
Somebody has something in the background.
yeah, I'm hearing something that might be a TV.
Are you back on, dear?
I thought I would be on by now, but I'm not. Okay. It's the Jitsi link again, I betcha.
Oh, you closed for Firefox.
I did.
Hmm. Oh,
Got my doubts.
wrong window,
But
workspace.
Think you need to share again, Dick.
yeah, I think you're right. Oh, share? No, I don't think so. I'll try it. You're right. I don't seem to be able to keep that locked on. And now I'll try. Ah,
That looks right.
except I closed the window. Um, where am I going?
Thunderbird.
Good. Back in the game. Where am I? Who am I? Um, let's go back to hot hardware. And I will mention last month I told you I had bought a 1 terabyte thumb drive. And then for a few dollars more, still well under $20, maybe at 15 or thereabouts, I bought a 2 terabyte flash thumb drive. The only catch is when I went to use them, they were uh, 32 megabytes and 64
Gigabytes. Gigabytes.
gigabytes and 64 gigabytes. Um, so they were kind of overpriced. They were marked clearly right on them, 1 terabyte and 2 terabytes. And I've had some people tell me they work online. I don't know anyone personally that has one, and other than ourselves. So, as a good researcher, I brought in some other stuff and I read some other stuff, and I can now tell you that you can buy thumb drives for $10 to $20 that say they're 1 to 2 terabytes, but they aren't. And I can tell you that you can buy external hard drives, very small ones, very thin, and they say 2 terabytes and 4 terabytes, and at least the 2 terabyte one goes for under $30, and they don't seem to give full size either. And then there's ones that really do, but they're used on big computers in huge clusters, and they're typically 20 terabytes per drive. They stack up a lot of them. They're formatted SMR. People refer to them as shingled, and they're hard drives. They're not solid state drives. And you can buy those now in small sizes, which wasn't true until recently. And you can buy a 2 terabyte one of those. That's not going to work satisfactorily for a different reason. And the different reason is the way they're formatted, they do a lot of cleaning and reorganizing as they work in the downtime. Well, they don't work fast enough on our computers to have downtime. They start slowing down immensely. They bog down painfully for most purposes.
Oh yeah,
So,
shingle drives are very specialized.
so
You want
bottom
to
line
treat.
is they're selling them as if you can just go out and tack one on. It's cheap and it'll work fine. They don't mention those problems.
Well, if you're buying one of these from a source that does that, you're dealing with scoundrels, and you probably should stick to honest merchants.
Probably should. I wanted to
Shingle
know if,
drives are good as write once backup drives.
right. The yeah, the first time doesn't have to regroup. That's right. Um, the problems with these aren't just that there are scoundrels or that they're perfectly good drives being sold for a wrong purpose or such. The problem is there's a hell of a lot of them on eBay and Amazon and the places that used to be reliable. And they don't seem to have latched onto these and gone for them as targets to be removed. So you'll find a discussion of that, and you'll find a discussion of why SMR drives are great, but not for you. Um, so I put them together in this item, updating my comments from last month. That's all for that one. You can read the articles later if it interests you. And last month I mentioned uh, my very inexpensive smartwatches and the fact that we're supposed to be getting Linux on those inexpensive smartwatches. Most of them are running on Android. So the question is, what do we have? I don't have any answer on that a month later. So I'm just reminding people if they see anything on how we can run Linux on the smartwatch and run a Linux watch program instead of the one that came with it, I'd be quite interested. I know it's coming. I haven't seen it yet. And the final one in the hardware list is an interesting one. Apple has big news. And the big news is what do you know? You can open your iPhone or your iMac that you thought belonged to you. You can open them without voiding the warranty. This is big news. And it's big news because they were sued. This is the opposite of free open source software. This is even after you buy it, you don't own your hardware. Um, so I think this is an interesting read. Some of you will enjoy. Um, let's see. Bill Ricker has a demo. Why don't we do that one first in the hot internet? Are you ready, Bill?
Unshare.
All right.
Okay. Let's see.
Let's see.
Do I have to unshare for that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Huh. I was.
Wait until Dick unshush.
I think I did unshare.
Yeah.
All right. I've changed seasons on my background because that's going to be relevant.
Hello, John.
John?
That's who I'm seeing.
Oh, I saw Bill Ricker.
Okay, I'll go.
You've got Charlie.
But I was sort of expecting the share button to do something for me.
Look out your window,
That
you
seems
might
to be the
have
running
snow.
problem today.
Yes.
Well, a couple hours ago, 50 out here.
Let me tickle my share button again in case I double hit it or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
No. No, mine is properly blocked.
He's going to reboot.
Oh, sigh.
No, it's okay. So the reason I switched to the winter season, which was a picture from my parents' dining room window a few years ago, Thanksgiving, was because of the title of what we're going to do here. Let's see, where's the So the subtitle, which isn't on this page, but was on the main page, is How ext4 Magic Saved Thanksgiving.
Right.
Make that a little bigger for you. How's that?
Good.
Very readable.
The so I have a Western Digital hard drive tucked in a bookcase in my parents' house, which is part of my offsite backup system. So I rsync from my desktop to my laptop, and then rsync from my laptop to the hard drive. Night before Thanksgiving, I did the rsync backwards.
Oops.
I did a push from the laptop to the desktop, which deleted everything that was new
Ouch.
in the build directory on the laptop. Only everything new in the last 2 weeks, because I had synced the laptop preparatory to trying to debug the printer issue, which is another interesting hardware thing, which I may ask about later. This was annoying. I did manage to capture the entire list of deleted items, because it wasn't that many, scrolling back the terminal window, which might be useful. Most of them were things that I had coalesced using hardlink, which is if you're not familiar with it, is a useful command to save space. It finds duplicates and converts them to hard links to each other. And rsync somehow undid some of those, even though they should have been the same on both ends. But it could be, I don't know. The good news is that /home was formatted as ext4. So this should be simple, right? It's not ButterFS, but it's got the modern journaling, so that undeleting things should be simple. Google gave me 2 answers, ext4 magic and ext undelete. I noted that ext4 magic recommended immediately save a copy of the device journal to another file system. And do that before doing the app install if you need to for either of these commands. This was brilliant advice. So even though I wasn't sure if I was going to use ext4 magic or ext undelete, I figured since it says do that before anything else, I would do that before anything else. And then I installed both ext4 magic and ext undelete. Disturbed me that there was no dry run mode on ext undelete to let you see what it's going to do without it doing it. But it looked like it would work with a list of files I wanted to get back, which I had. So it looked promising. Of course, both of these require you to get to single user, super user mode and unmount the affected file system. Typically, this is going to mean recovery mode reboot, which was nicely documented in one of the linked pages, and recommends you really have a working directory somewhere else like /opt, not /temp, because that may not be saved over a reboot. So as recommended, I saved the journal to /opt, and I made a /opt me sudo that, where I could put the list of missing files transferred over from the laptop, do the install, reboot the single user, which is the advanced options choice on the boot menu. I made another directory under OpMe Home as a place to put things that are found. Since I had the list of files deleted, I tried using ext undelete with the restore files option. But the documentation was not sufficient for me to puzzle out how much of the path to the file it wanted, or what other flags needed to change from the restore directory mode. And so neither of those worked for me. So I then used the ext4magic command using the save journal cache that it told me to save, and using the date command to choose a timestamp 6 hours ago as undelete everything deleted since 6 hours ago. And it worked.
Excellent.
The cleanup steps, then I needed to change the ownership of the files that were in the root recovery directory to whatever my user ID was, my group ID. And then copy them back to the right place. That was it. Oh, and then I had to do the real backup, pulling from the desktop to the laptop. But so ext4magic saved Thanksgiving. I was way late getting on the road because I was way late getting to bed. But that meant I got on the road after the traffic had already dissipated, and I still got to dinner in time to carve the turkey.
See how valuable Linux is?
My father very carefully never learned to carve a turkey. He always had either his father or his father-in-law carve turkeys at family gatherings and instructed them to train me.
Wise man. Well, I want to point out, Bill, this wouldn't have happened if you had a second backup drive in your house. And I know where you can get a shingled one, 4 terabytes, $35.
Uh-huh. So the now the network printer issue that I was having is that caused me to bring the laptop up to date a couple weeks ago was interesting. I have a long Cat5 run from the living room router to a Ethernet switch in the upstairs office where the printers are. And the let's see, I'm going to get back over here. See the kitten?
No. Oh, almost.
I don't think that's a Cat 5.
Yeah, she heard me say cat. So the printers are plugged into the Ethernet switch. It's not a full router. With a long run that slips down the stairwell. And the living room router plugs into the FiOS router in the basement. So I've got a choice of 2 routers that I can talk to. But the switch has the light on indicating that it's got signal on the wire running to the router, but plugging the laptop into the upstairs switch, I can't see the downstairs router, which explains why people using the downstairs router can't see the printers. So why would the switch turn on a light indicating that there was something at the other end of the wire in the slot going out when it's not usefully doing signals? That's my question for the group.
So this is a hardware question.
Yes.
Are there any white cat hairs on your connectors?
Well, it's been so long since those connectors were unconnected, reconnected. I don't think so.
Maybe give them some exercise then. And a little
Any
contact
reason you're
cleaning.
not, any reason for not using wireless?
I don't like wireless printers in a dense urban environment. I would much rather have my small office, home office grade printers on a proper wired network, like a proper office environment.
I would agree, but I also point out that they can now pick up enough signal from the electromagnetic radiation around the wire to be detected remotely, which I find very disturbing.
Yes, but they can't log into my network through
Right.
the printer's vulnerabilities
Right.
if the printer
Bill,
doesn't have Wi-Fi.
Bill, where is this wire? Is it in the walls, or is it just sort of running across the floor, or?
It's yeah, no, it runs across the ceiling.
Hmm.
Next theory.
Outside, not in the attic or something.
Not in the attic.
Because I was thinking, if it was in a place where it got chafed, it might have lost its continuity.
Yeah, what if it lost its continuity? I would expect the little light that says I've got signal from the real router to go out on the switch.
Right. Interesting.
Well,
Well,
no,
thank you
Does
very.
either of your routers change the domain, like 128, whatever the 196, 128?
Yes. The FiOS has one set of dotted numbers and its own fake domain, and the little home office router has a different one of the natted dot domains, and normally the HP printers would get their IP address from the home router and use one of its numbers, but they aren't seeing the DHCP server, so they make up their own number, which I can find out by inquiring on the little LCD panel or printing a test page.
I would guess that that's part of the problem,
Yeah,
that you're not getting address translation between
Yeah.
the far side of the internal router and the main block
Oh,
of the network.
I never try to use the printer from the FiOS router Wi-Fi. I only use the printer from either the Wi-Fi or the wired service on the living room router.
one thing I used to do was put a static IP on the printer, and I would adjust the router so that it would not assign those addresses.
No,
That's a very good idea.
I had told the router what IPs to assign to the printers, but I hadn't fixed it in the printer's memory. But if it can't, if they're not getting, if network packets aren't going up and down the green lighted wire, there's something a little lower level than that. And it could be that we just got a lightning induced surge that has either the switch or the router may have a SAD port that's partially working. I don't know.
Well, the switch is not going to change your IP address.
Right.
The router certainly will.
Mm-hmm. And the router had been doing it successfully at one point.
Okay.
I hope it's fixed quickly, and I hope you remember how next month so we can take notes.
Well, I may just upgrade the router.
Hmm.
That was a plan anyway.
Don't go for the new 4 terabyte one for $30. Thank you. Let's see. Guess I go back to sharing, and then I go back to my stuff. It's not sharing. Why? Well, let's see if it's working.
Yeah, you're still not sharing.
No, I thought I would be. Back. Hit it one more time. It's my opinion that it should be working, but it isn't. Ah. Well, if I'm there, I'm not there. Jill, do you see something that I've hit sharing?
Yeah.
It doesn't open to share the screen.
Oh.
This is new.
Tilde? No.
No change, in my opinion.
Well, maybe log off and log back on again.
Of the connection.
Yeah.
I'll be back shortly, folks.
Now try sharing.
Try without changing it or change it. Still isn't showing up. This is strange. Can you folks hear me?
I can.
Yep.
Good. For some reason, my screen sharing is not responding.
Nope.
Yeah. Even in Chromium, no, even in Firefox. Yeah, Firefox. I had to reload in order to share.
Yeah, I've been screen sharing and clicking a couple of times, and I'm not even getting to that stage.
I had a pop-up a moment ago when I first clicked the screen share that asked me whether I was going to allow it or not.
Right.
And I just escaped away from that, and I now cannot click a share and get that pop-up again.
I think that's what I'm talking about.
I suspect
Yes,
that's what's happening here.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened to me.
And what do I do for an encore?
Reboot
Reboot. Well, not reboot, but
or close Firefox and open it
hit a
again.
carriage return in the URL bar or F5.
Use
Well,
Chrome.
he got out of Jitsi Meet and back in. That didn't help.
We'll try starting Firefox.
I only needed to reload the Jitsi page and rejoin the meeting. That's all it took to fix it. I assume Jill's talking to Dick. She's muted.
It's interesting.
Says it's on.
And he's back.
Now let's see if I can get to the other side without more surprises.
Yes, but you're not sharing.
It said I was, didn't it?
No, I didn't. You're just
I
on.
think sharing is disabled for Natick.
Go back to the Jitsi meeting and share it. Try sharing it again.
Better. I have the option.
That looks better.
Yep, we got the infinite regress. Love that.
Interesting. Well, I'm better now, but it isn't. Why?
It's not going to his other.
Now you need to switch to the window you want to show us.
I did.
He did, and it didn't.
It didn't track. Try one more time.
Nope.
I'm in the agenda window and you're not. Oh, this.
I suggest you stop sharing.
Feels to me like you shared a window as opposed to sharing a screen.
Well, I shared a screen and it got me here.
Back to this. Here's the sharing.
There it is. That guy. And now what?
Now you can't get to sharing again?
What?
You can't get to the sharing?
Want to go to the other window? Another bad test. Okay.
Go to that. Down here to
This
share.
one?
Yes. Now, select window or screen.
I just did this entire screen and allow.
Okay, and now go
Hither.
hither.
Oh, that was simple. Well, like Bill, I don't know how I got there. Okay, let's see.
I'm not seeing your share. I'm just seeing a DM.
I'm seeing his share.
Shares arrived here. Maybe Jerry needs to restart.
Nope, got it now.
Interesting. There's a lot of echoes running around, not in audio, but in video. Okay.
A lot of people have that yellow dot that says that you don't have very good connection. So maybe that's what's slowing it down.
I am hopping back to the beginning of Hot Internet. This is interesting. Mozilla has had an add-on which is just updated, and it's called Regrets Reporter. And they've updated it. You can download it for free for Firefox, but also for Chrome, and I think for Chromium. For those who don't know, Chromium is the version of Chrome that isn't calling home to Google. Um, I think it's the better of the two, but we use Firefox in general. So Mozilla has written this project and why. It's all about YouTube. When you look at a YouTube video, they normally prompt you to see if you want to see a couple of other YouTube videos. Which ones? Why, ones that you're going to like, which means they're tracking you. And what's worse, they've been feeding bad videos. You can now turn it off or you can train it to avoid the bad videos, which used to mean ones of a sexual nature, but nowadays it means, among other things, ones that say that uh, there is no pandemic, don't get injected, whatever. So,
Or that you could die from vaccination.
right. So if you want to get off the bad list, which YouTube is guilty of having allowed to happen, here's a tool for doing that. I think that's recommended at this point. YouTube has also agreed that it's time for it to take a new look at its algorithms that do that. So perhaps it will get better. But in the meantime, that's a good thing to know about. Regrets Reporter. When you click the link later, um, you'll be able to go right to it and pick the one you want and also read all about what it's about. It originally was there to measure whether the YouTube algorithm was indeed biased, wrongly, not for you. And people could report on it, and lo and behold, what was suspected proves to be true. Then they took the additional steps. Good for Mozilla. Uh, Web3, I'll just mention for this month. I'll be interested in more, but it's old news from 2014 and it's current news, and it's about keeping the web out of the hands of a few giant companies with giant server systems and giant note taking capabilities. It's about privacy and on the internet itself. So you might want to read it. Maybe we'll have more follow up information next month. Oopsie, we just did. Hypnotics, I think I'll skip for this month. Wild Me, I'll just mention it's a really good article on it. You can read it and you can design very good special apps easily for your conservation projects. You can pull in various smart notes from here, there, a map, image, this, that, and the other. And if you know an environmentalist, this is what you give them for Christmas. Um, Good stuff. And a good example of what you can do in other categories. This one's for conservation projects. Um, 7 best Wayback Machine alternatives. When I want to find something on the net, but it's not there anymore, they've changed the server or changed its location or taken it down because it was embarrassing to them, and I want to see it, I go to the Wayback Machine. I like it just fine. But I didn't know there were 7 good alternatives to it. There were a lot more. These are just the 7 best. So you might be interested. Um, and that's all I'll say for Hot Internet for today. On computer security, privacy, and freedom, I want to start with a very interesting brand new article. At least one of the contributors to it that gave it its last update uh, is our friend Michael Cornelison, Mike is the fellow who's behind Photox. Very good programmer and very interested in having the internet run right, especially have Linux run right. This article is a complaint article about a feature that's creeping in more and more into Linux. So I think a lot of you are going to be interested in reading it. It's long, it's detailed, and it doesn't ramble. It's dead on. And it says Flatpak, Snap, AppImage, Docker, and Steam are all new tools getting very popular in Linux. They allow you to offer a program and it automatically loads all that program's dependencies as well. Might be a couple you don't want. You'd rather have an alternative one. Might load a lot more on your computer than you need for the purpose you're using it. It might load multiple copies of the same program and might do a couple of other things you don't like. It's handy.
Well, it absolutely will load multiple copies. That's how they avoid there being problems with one client program wanting a different version than a different client program.
Right. And there's one program in particular which updates very regularly, and you've got to be on the right version. So that's all discussed in here. And there's a suggestion for a far simpler solution to give the benefit without giving the harm. And there's a further comment that the reason the big boys haven't already moved over to something like that is because each one of these gives a version of Linux, a popular big time version of Linux, extra income from the connections. And that's against the spirit of Linux, but it's been getting popular. And I'd start by reading the article, and next month we might want to discuss it in some detail, or online before next month. They're both possible, but I really recommend the article. Nicholas Fraser is in Canada. Mike Cornelison of Photox fame is in Germany, and they are both collaborating now because Mike thought the article was that good. And when I looked, I thought so too. So we all know some about this, and there's other reasons people don't like one or another. But this is the underlying one. It's basically undermining the spirit of Linux, which is you put on your computer what you want on your computer, not 57 other flavors. And what's driving it sounds anti-Linux as well. That's it for that. Now let's pick on Microsoft for a change. Microsoft Windows 11 has just added a few extra touches, and they force links to open in its Edge browser. Understand this. You might be in Microsoft Windows 11 running Firefox or Chrome or Chromium. But when you click on a link, Windows will automatically switch you into Edge. They did that earlier, and an add-on came available to correct for it. They've now corrected for the add-on, so it won't work. This is bad, folks. This is something you don't want. You can read that one if you're on Windows or know people who are. And if they've moved up to 11, they've got some new problems. I'm not sure they have new benefits. Tardigrade malware. Now we're going beyond picking on a company or two. This is something new that targeted biomanufacturing. Read better or more available COVID-19 antibodies and the like. So every time they find a new way to go, these companies have been getting targeted. You can read what they know about who's behind it and such. but it's a serious one. It's out there. In addition to that, Conrat is out there now. It may be ready to target you now, but it's not going to target you until a certain date comes up, and it's a date that never comes up. It's February 31st. Because it never comes up, they were able to slip this malware in on a loophole to do with dates that don't exist. This is a weird one, and come uh, March 1st, you just might be meeting it, but you can read about it now. And it's another very new one that's interesting if you like horrible things. Um, so companies are trying to get on top of it. Right now, it's not clear to me there's a known total fix. Might mean you're going to be upgrading, which you do regularly if you have Linux and don't choose to do it once every 2 years. Even then, you get regular updates for things of this kind as soon as they exist. So don't say no to those if you're using Linux. Um, Hacking spree against Iran. Well, as some of you may know, Iran and Israel have been having a run and gun battle on the computers. And in addition to that, Iran has been attacking particular sites in the US and in other places as well. Uh, but what happened with this last attack is Iran escalated something.
Yeah, I see it also.
Pardon? Iran interrupted something uh, in Israel, and it was water supply mechanisms, I believe, to make the pumps run. And I would guess Israel counterattacked, I'm not sure. But now Iran is in deep trouble. And the point is, when these things go public to that degree, and they get physical to that degree, affecting physical infrastructure that affects the public, it's getting pretty serious. A lot of places are trying to figure out how to pass laws to make that impossible to do, or if you do it, you get sanctioned so badly you won't do it. Um, but here's one that's getting to the level that's that serious. Worth a read for bad news.
I would like to ask the person who still has their mic on to turn it off because there's every time they move, it goes and it's annoying.
Thank you. Um, the U.S. House Oversight Committee has been reviewing successful malware hackers, and their review can be read, and they've issued a playbook for government agencies as to how to protect better against the hacking. And now they've made that playbook available for companies, other groups out there. You can read it. If you're not running big servers, probably half of it or more won't pertain to you, and you read the other half. But this is a big approach to the problem that's going on, and the government work has now gone public as well. Um, so, what are the most secure and private web browsers? I read an interesting article on it, which led me to a few more articles. And the more articles I read, the more I found they're not all recommending the same web browsers. In fact, quite a few of them are recommending ones you'd walk away from, according to most of the others. So I ended up picking an article by one of the private companies that wants you to use theirs. It's free, and I gather it's pretty good, but it also wants to escalate you to their paid for one. So I'm not telling you to use the browser, but I'm telling you their critique of the other ones I thought was pretty good. They seem to ignore the topic of open source software and why that's good. I think it's good. And therefore, they think, for instance, they're better than Firefox. But I would differ. But they say the most secure and private browser is a private browser. You shouldn't use one that's public that you can just download. Don't believe that, but it's an interesting article. The real bottom line is if you do a search on just that, do a search on uh, secure and private browsers, no more, no less, online. I think you'll find plenty of opinions, and I think you'll find the same huge variety that I found. That's not good. Um, Dystopia is upon us. Are you ready? I did enough of that already tonight. Click if you dare. And Facebook is shutting down its facial recognition system. Like everything else on Facebook, it affects over a billion people and it affects them in many wrong ways. Other people can get a hold of it through Facebook's mistakes. And my big question is I'm glad they shut it down, but who have they leaked it to by now? And who have they sold it to by now? And who are they keeping it themselves to sell to later? The discussion didn't go into that. And we have no reason to trust Facebook. Even if the webcam light is off, someone could be listening. Well, I've got a shutter on my webcam. That's what was keeping you from seeing me at the beginning of this talk. And the point is, even with the shutter on,
Close.
closed, the shutter slid over the camera. They can't see you, and you know they can't see you. It's not a software choice at that point. But there's no similar safeguard for the sound unless you read this article and get some ideas. It's a good one. Uh, Anybody surprised? This is just new data on the subject of how much Twitter favors the right wing conservative stuff and spreads it around. Here's one you'll like. The NRA, which also does all the same things, is in a bind. They're stuck in a ransomware trap. They don't want to spend the money and they don't want to put up the safety net that would keep them from getting trapped. So this is a case of one of the bad guys. And if you use a rifle properly, I'm not arguing, but NRA has been pushing all the stuff that leads to all the guns that are in all the wrong hands that you read about on the news every night. Uh, so I'm glad to see they're in a pinch, but I don't like the nature of the pinch. An interesting good news, bad news one. Microsoft's .NET Foundation. Yeah, they've got stuff to admit to on this one. And they're all the same topic. They're all computer security, privacy, or freedom, like going to who you want to go to for the links instead of Windows sending you to them for the links uh, with their bias on it that people can hire them for. So much. Well, I want to point out where we began. We began at the date up top in green, and I said we come to that later. So look a little different now that you can see it this way. Anybody want to comment? Somebody?
Ed,
Ed, go.
unmute yourself.
Good. Ed, what do you see? Oh, I'm sorry. I think instead of chasing that down for that answer, I'll tell you two answers.
He
Half
says,
what? Oh, good.
Ed says radar, same backwards and forwards.
Yup. Just like radar, it's a palindrome. You can read it forward or backward, and it reads the same way. This one's different. Joe, can you get on?
Me?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you sent it to me, didn't you?
yes.
Let me see if I can get on. I'm thinking. Ah,
Today's date, right down here at the bottom. Nope, nope,
I missed.
just jiggled.
You thought it was a palindrome. Ah,
But just move this up here so you
I
don't see so much up there.
tell you what I'm going to do.
Uh,
There we go. Now, if you have a portable computer, turn it upside down.
or stand on your head.
If you have a desktop, stand on your head. This is called an ambigram. Something new we're trying, folks. Isn't that interesting? So that was a very special date today. Even more special if you read it as an ambigram. I'm still looking for this font. If someone knows where it is and can send it to me, I'd like to know about it. Or any other font that does the same trick. Notice how the two and everything in it is symmetrical top to bottom, except it also reverses so it'll work upside down. It won't show up in reverse. The two, for instance.
Now, this particular ambigram also works rotated as well as flipped.
Oh, good point. Right. We can do a lot of tricks with it. So now you'll have it in the recorded version. Good. Back I go to whence I came. Maybe.
Mm,
um,
close the tab, which is where? Where are you tab?
just
Oh, just close.
close this one.
Yeah,
And now I still have to put them in inbox. I tell you,
yeah. You just go back up to your
that's the one I want.
mm, bus user group. Here it is, draft agenda. Dick,
Where are you? Good. Where?
I don't know. What did you do? You sorted it.
Looks like you
Okay.
have two tabs available at the top of
Right
the
here.
menu there.
Try that one.
Oh, I think you're right. Thank you. So simple, only a child can do it. And let's see. We finished this. We finished this. Um, when we finish the date, and the cows say, we're going to finish this, guys, folks. We're going to do it. Um, Microsoft is advertising something they're applying at this point, and uh, only for Windows 11 again. And it's a mica background effect for Office 365. You'll have to be running Office 365 and you'll have to be running it in Windows 11. And if you do, this background effect uh, is going to fix a problem they had. Um, they used to have a different method by which you could put a different background in, just like we do in Ubuntu and most other Linux. Um, it was very heavy on computer usage, and particularly if you were on the net at the same time, and they eventually just dropped it. They've now come back with a rather clever, simplified version of it that isn't as heavy a load on the computer. You don't need a supercomputer to run this. Well, I think that's interesting, but why run Microsoft's when you can go into Linux? And in Ubuntu, the old one wasn't that heavy. And what happened is you go into visual effects. Uh, on my computer, I can go, for instance, into settings. And in settings, I can bring up system settings. And in system settings, I can go to appearance. In appearance, I can go to behavior. And down under that, here is visual effects. And you just put them on high, you've got it. Put them on low, you don't have it. What it's doing is spelled out in the fine print. It includes shadows and animations when opening, resizing, and switching windows. Fast stuff, fancy stuff. You can have it if you want it. You can turn it off if you don't want it. I'm on a Core i7 Intel chip. It's quite fast. Has 4 cores and 4 virtual cores. Uh, I don't worry about such things. So uh, I can just pop it on. The other part of it is something new we're trying. It's a add-on program called Tint 2, and you can add that on. That does something closer to the newer trick, really lightweight, but it also gives you an immense amount of variety for how you can see your screen, your desktop. And it's very flexible on that and on other windows you open, any panel basically, whether it's a window from someone else or your main window or anything in between. It gives you a lot of tools for it. And what's more, it in turn go right back to where we showed you much earlier um, the where is it? Alternatives to. Remember alternatives to? Put in Tint 2 and Linux, and you might be surprised at all the other choices you have for similar things. So Microsoft bailed out of their first round. They are now extended years later, coming out with a second round. And we've had that stuff all along, and in so many flavors, it's quite nice. There you go. That's everything we have, except what? Oh, except Jill has an even better background one to show you.
Dick, could I ask a question?
Sure.
The tint 2 is green. Is that any meaning?
No,
No, I made it
the
green so it wouldn't look like the other colors we're using today on that screen.
Okay,
That's,
thank you.
that's all. You can have green and a lot of other things, way beyond what you're thinking.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Enjoy reading about it. You can see samples. There may be a place to run it online and see the samples. Well, no, I think there's some videos is what you'll find showing variations on it. And then it in turn, through Alternative 2, will lead you to 57 other varieties of that sort of thing. Jill's got a demo, but before she shows you how, I'll show you what, because today I was using those multiple areas. I want to tell you quickly about these multiple workspaces that you get to them with a shortcut combo or a click of the button on the launch pad. On my launch pad over hither, it's up right near the top. It's this one up in the upper left. See it? Workspace switcher. And I'm running 4 of them. The reason I'm mentioning it now is because 2 of them aren't in use by me today. They're showing my desktop background. I'll click on one of them, and there's my desktop background with nothing else except my top bar, which is full of good tools and takes up so little space. You just don't see it till you want to. And when I want my launcher to go to other things, this way I've set my launcher to work this way. It gets out of the way when I don't want it. I slide my cursor to the left and it comes up, and the rest of the time it's away. And this is an ad, not for our company, but for Ubuntu Linux. I love it. Uh, this was made with a free program, one of the fractal programs we've talked about in past months. And then I took it and I thought it was a real nice design, but the colors looked kind of dull and a little too much in one corner. And instead of waiting forever with it, I just took that image and put it into Photox. And in Photox, I picked what colors I wanted for where, and I added the text, and it was all super easy. All free stuff for the asking, folks. But how do you get this lovely new desktop into your computer back underneath in the operating system? Just going to show you how to do it in Photox, and I'll bet any significant Linux is going to have a similar way to do it as the way she'll show you in Ubuntu. So over to Jill now.
Actually, I'm not going to be doing it in Photox.
Oh, I can do it, can't I?
Yes.
Jill is going to dictate, and I'll follow her instructions.
Okay, first of all, you want to have a
An image,
picture,
a
an
picture you
image
want, right?
that, yeah,
Let's go into Photox and find this picture. That's how it really happened. And what do you know? I'm fairly close to it. This is one of the pieces it was made out of. When I brought it into Photox, I changed it to this. And then I went into the Photox option for edit, markup, draw text on image. And I just want to tell you it's there and it's powerful. But now that you see that it's there, here's what I got from it going into that. And here's what I got from it going out of that. So that's the image we want to use. Let's see if I can't just export it. And I will, in Photox, whoops, double click and say copy, move. One of the options is copy, move to desktop. If you want an interim step, you could do that. But why don't we move it to what we really want? First of all, it says copy. I don't want to lose the copy I have. So I'll say copy, not move. And now that I've said that, I'll say let's browse to what I want. What I want is really simple. It's Home Dick Pictures, the plain vanilla pictures album that's built into Ubuntu when it comes. I don't have much in it, but if I say choose folder, then it's got the right place to go. It's only going to copy it. It knows what it is from my being there when I did it. And I can say apply. That's all it takes. In this case, it says it's already there. Do I want to override it? And I'll say no, but that's all it takes. That's how you make it one of your available wallpapers. And once it's in your home/pictures folder, I'll say no for this and bail. Once you do that, you can go into your setting for system settings, appearance, and this time what you do is instead of looking at wallpapers, well, let's look at wallpapers. I'll set one, and this is it. It is Um, I believe that's all I have to do. It's already set, and um, and that's my wallpaper. But I don't want that one. I want this one. So what I do is go to Pictures folder, and in the Pictures folder, anything you want, you can put in there. You can put it in as a JPEG or a PNG or various other image formats. And if you click it, I'll do a different one for the exercise. That one will become your wallpaper. Next time you go in, and maybe now, I'm not sure if this will work or not, only in the one, not in all of them yet. But it will be in all of them when they're empty the next time I come into uh, Ubuntu, I boot. Uh, so
So
that's how simple it is.
the reason it's not here is that you have Photox on top of it
Oh,
showing.
right. Look at the top bar. The top bar isn't in Photox, and it's now showing from this one. So it is in all of them, in fact, uh, as the background. It was that easy. So the secret to all of this is go to that one, and in it,
Just close
right, just
close
close
Photox.
Photox, which by the way has lots of tools. And in Photox, out of Photox rather, you can just go back. All you have to do is from hither or from yon, you can uh, put that in, you can go into, this is Nautilus I'm using for a file manager. Whoops, I clicked the
That's
wrong
not
one.
that's not Nautilus.
I missed. Uh, and you can go in from here and do the same thing. You can open double windows by simply taking the top and dragging it to the left. Oh, sorry, and N for a new window, and then drag that to the left. I'll drag it to the or the right, either one. And you can now go anywhere you want and drag things across into the one you want. I always keep the one I care about on the left, the one I'm temporarily working from. I may care about it, but it's not the one I'm moving things to. And I put that one on the right. Then I have a rule and I don't get confused about which way I'm going. But of course, you'll read them up top here once you set it up. So there's a lot of ways to do the same trick. The name of the trick is get your image you want into home pictures. And I'm going to bet it's almost identical on any Linux you come to. Any questions, any comments? You see any?
Nope.
I think we've come to the end.
Yeah.
I remind you that we have a discussion group you're welcome to find from the main page, and you can go there and bring up anything, anytime, what we saw today, or anything new, or pick up on a thread that's already there. And there's a couple of interesting ones I didn't put in this month, but if they're interesting enough, they might show up next month. Um, I'm amazed we got through all of that, but you've got a lot of homework to do on the parts that interest you. Have a very good month if we don't see you sooner. And here's to Linux, here's to FOSS. You
And
can click on the bottom of your Jitsi page and hang up, and that's what I'm going to do next. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Season's greetings and Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank
thank
you.
you. Same to everyone.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Cheers.
bye.
And for me, back to Photox somehow.
That's not Photox.
I mean, Jitsi.